Yesterday I had some negative news. The chaps are currently downstairs building a set. They look pretty spicy. I'm pretty happy with that. Today I'm actually trying something new, which I'm a little bit nervous about. We have got some big plans. Welcome back to another vlog. My name is Dennis and I own Menace Media, a video production company based in Northamptonshire. And this vlog is a window into my life, behind the scenes on how I run my company and our journey so far. Getting into this week, it was going to be very exciting, but unfortunately, yesterday I had some negative news yet again. This week I really wanted us to pick up our new van. You would have seen a couple episodes ago, I went to a Ford dealership and put down a deposit on a new van to replace our Mitsubishi, and then there was an issue with it, which put a couple of week delay on it. That was to wait for a part to come from Germany. That part arrived yesterday, they fitted it, and unfortunately the issue still persists. Today was meant to be collection day, and it is unfortunately not going to be that, which is a real shame. And the big kind of like problem that may come up very soon, if the van doesn't come soon, is that the Mitsubishi has sold and will be going tomorrow. So we'll be without a smaller vehicle, which enables us to go into underground car parks and those sorts of things. But otherwise, back at base, we are cracking on with all of our post-production we've got going on in a minute. There's a fair chunk of it at the moment. And we're also cracking on with the new junior videographer that will be joining the team to film behind the scenes content. A little bit of an update on that. So the week just gone, as you've just seen, we completed our review of the shortlist and then reached out to 3 in particular to see if they could send us a little bit more of their portfolio, just so we could be 100% sure that they are what we're looking for. 1 has come back, and unfortunately none of us were really that kind of like keen on their work. It just wasn't up to scratch as far as we were concerned. So that was a shame. So they're now out of the running, I guess. And then the other 2 just haven't responded, which is also a real shame. Like, I'll give it another day or so, but by that point it would have been 5 days since I messaged them, and I have followed up. And I just think if you're currently actively looking for a job and you get messaged on the platform that they applied on, so that's Indeed and LinkedIn, and then emailed as well, and they don't respond, it probably means they're no longer interested, which is a shame, especially as one of them in particular, I sent them the message back within 24 hours of them applying for the role, so it was quite fresh. Yeah, that kind of sucks. So if they don't turn around, then we go back to square one, which is looking through more applicants, which is a shame because, like I said, this delays the process. But in brighter news, the chaps are currently downstairs building a set, because this week we're going to be filming some interviews for the behind the scenes documentary of our short film project. I've alluded to the behind the scenes documentary now for what feels like ages, but we're getting close now to the actual release date of that short film, which means we need to amp up our marketing material for when that film comes out. And that is going to be a testimonial video from the client, as well as this behind the scenes documentary, which will then obviously be broken down into like smaller bite-sized pieces for social media as well. The BTS documentaries for these projects, whenever we do them, it often ends up being like my favorite part, because I don't know, it's really cool to see like the process, how it came together, the final result, and share that with the world, you know? But anyway, let's check in with the chaps, see how their set's going, and then we're gonna start filming our interviews.
So we've just finished the setup for our behind the scenes documentary that we're going to be filming this week, and I think it's been pretty cool. It's been fun to do this up. What we've got here, we've got a 3 camera setup this time. We're going to shoot on the C300 Mark III as the main angle, and we're again shooting on them lovely DZO prime lenses. We've got the 50mm on the main angle, and then we've also got a side angle which is quite obscure, showing a lot of negative space, and we've got that on the C7E with the 75mm prime, and we've also got a really cool third like behind angle which is on the 100mm DZO prime as well. With the lighting, we've actually gone really like soft. So we've got the 600D with the softbox, and we've actually double diffused it with our other softbox just to get that real nice soft Rembrandt lighting across the face. We've got the grid on it as well to stop any spill onto the background. And then, like we always do, we use our lovely Sennheiser MKH shotgun microphone to get that really crisp audio. We've gone for kind of like a BTS style interview, so in some of the angles you can actually see the light. So for example, our hair light, we've got the Aperture 300X. with the cone on, which is blasting a warm light on the back of our head, which you can actually see in the main angle. And over here we've got our practical lights as well. So we've got this really nice like lamp, warm lamp that you can also see on the main angle, which looks really nice on camera. And we've got this workbench with 3 of our DZO primes and also 1 on our Canon C400, because in this BTS doc we're definitely going to be talking about the kit that we used, which was the Canon C400, the Canon C80 and also these DZO primes. So we wanted to show these off, and these are actually being lit by this really cool Fresnel, which we've got like a warm gel on. That's just blasting a real subtle light onto it, which can actually be seen in the main angle just to brighten up them lenses and the camera as well.
Welcome to Wednesday. Kicking off today with a bunch of admin. Unfortunately, this week is very much desk bound for me. But today is actually the day where our Mitsubishi is being picked up, as it has sold. Yeah, gonna miss that car. It has been, as I said in previous episodes, really good for us. Like, it's been a proper trooper, and yeah, fitting an abnormal amount of kit in it and crew at the same time. We've really maximised that car, which has been really funny. Once the van is fixed and replaces it, that will be a fantastic day as well. Otherwise, today I'm actually trying something new, which I'm a little bit nervous about, but also I think it's the right thing to do. I'm gonna be trying I've called it a debrief, but I guess it's more like an offboarding kind of, I don't know. I've booked a call with a client that we just wrapped up a massive project on, because I want to sit with them and debrief it. And what I'm looking to achieve from doing this sort of thing is just unfiltered feedback. You know, like, we've never done this. And I sort of realized the other day that I feel like we should open up that channel and get a bit more feedback from our clients, just to make sure that we are consistently delivering, you know, like a great service. Obviously, I feel like if there was something massively wrong, ooh, look at that sun flare, god damn. I feel like if there was something massively wrong, they would have said, or obviously they would never work with us again. And this client in particular has worked with us many times over the last few years. So we're obviously doing something right, but I don't think that's an excuse to, oh, the doorbell is ringing, I must answer it. Sorry about that. That's the guy who's come to pick up the Mitsubishi, so he's currently doing his checks. There you go. Having a little bit of a look around. Fingers crossed, all is well. I mean, it's in good condition. Like, we've looked after that car, had it nicely washed and everything regularly. But anyway, where was I? I forgot where I was now. Yeah, we've not done this before, the offboarding debrief kind of thing. But I just think it's worth doing, because I want to make sure that everything was, you know, perfect, is basically where I'm trying to get at. I mean, obviously there are things in every project, there's always complexities, things that you run into that aren't ideal, locations, or a bundle of things really. Like, things can go sideways at any point. But my whole thing is about how well you manage those. And I believe on that project we did really well, but obviously we will find out after this call. But yeah, like I said, I feel a little bit nervous. Like, it's kind of like awkward asking someone to give feedback, especially if that ends up being negative. But obviously, if it is negative, you need to hear it and you need to act on that and then grow and improve and all that stuff. And then based on how this goes, I'll then have a little bit more of an idea of how these conversations should go and when they should sit into a project. And then we'll start doing them more often with a lot more projects, because I think in the best interest of delivering the best service, I think it's the right thing to do. But anyway, let me get into today. Do some prep and smash it out. Oh, and as you saw yesterday, the guys set up this studio for our behind the scenes documentary interviews. Today they will be going into their interviews, which will be Darren's and Sam's. So let's check in with them and have a look at those interviews. They look, I've got to say, I had a little look at the back of the cameras yesterday. It's pretty spicy. I'm pretty happy with that little set that they've built. So yeah, let's check in with them.
that's the interviews all wrapped up. So that's both myself and Sam, and then we can really start to get to work on the edit for this BTS documentary.
Super excited to get that behind the scenes documentary done. As you can see, the frames from it look pretty damn clean and a little bit artsy with that third camera, the C angle, kind of like a little bit reverse, kind of almost Drive to Survive-esque if you guys are into that kind of thing. But yeah, super cool day actually. I had that debrief call that I was a little bit nervous about this morning, and then we also had another call with a prospect where we pitched them our idea and obviously a proposal and all that sort of stuff, and it went really well. We don't know if the project's going ahead. They're obviously going to I've now sent them the proposal to review with the surrounding colleagues and whatnot in their team. But fingers crossed we get it, because it's a really cool project in the equine space that I personally have spent a lot of time in, and I very much enjoy working within that space. So fingers crossed we get it. But yeah, the debrief call. Oh man, yeah. You know what? I recommend any of you out there that work in whatever industry, because to be honest, this applies to anything, do debriefs with your clients, do offboardings or whatever the hell you want to call them. It's an interesting thing. Obviously, you're opening yourself up to potentially negative feedback, but also positive feedback. And in all honesty, in our particular case, the negative feedback wasn't like negative in a bad sense. They gave us proper constructive feedback on how we can improve our service. And it's little things. So in this one in particular, they said it would have been nice to have had perhaps a 20-minute call with the talent prior to the shoot, just to give them a bit more of a kind of like set an expectation for the filming day, which I think is a good idea. And we've done that on other shoots. Usually that just comes down to the budget and what was allocated to pre-production. But yeah, on this one we didn't do that. But yeah, it's a fair old point. There was also some feedback on things that we could do in post-production to make the sort of feedback process a little bit smoother and stuff like that. But these are all things that without this conversation, we wouldn't have perhaps even done in the future. And that could have been something that client then thought, could have constantly thought, oh, I wish Menace did this. And without me opening up that channel, they may never have mentioned it. So, well worth doing. And as I say, that kind of applies to any industry. Like, I don't know, if you're a carpenter or a landscaper, ask your clients, were they 100% happy with the service? Is there anything they feel you could have done better? I don't know, the general kind of questions, but it feels a bit scary because I was there thinking, I don't want them to, just bash what we've done. Obviously, if they did, then it's well deserved and you have to take that and learn from it, because if you've done a bad thing, crikey, you better fix up, because you'll never hold a client. Thankfully, obviously, we've never had that. I think it's nearly every single client has come back from multiple jobs, so we're doing something right, but that doesn't mean we're perfect. So I want us to open these channels up and do these debriefs more often and learn. That's my learning from the day. Otherwise, a couple jobs came in, which are cool. One's at an event in a couple weeks, and then the other one is rather exciting. Obviously, you saw last week we were doing some tester shots down in the studio with the free fly with some perfume bottles, and that was to essentially show a potential customer a little bit of what could be possible, and they loved it. And they've asked us to hop on a call because they want to talk about some upcoming projects. So, cannot complain. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up for the day. As you've probably already seen, everyone's gone home. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap up for now. And then tomorrow is... Oh, it's weird. Yeah, it's a bank holiday weekend. So tomorrow's kind of like, Friday, I guess. So, tomorrow we're going to carry on with a bunch of stuff. I think it's all post-production tomorrow. And then I've got an interesting meeting because we have got some big plans for our studio, and I've got a contractor coming out to quote some of the stuff we've been planning. I don't want to tell you too much about what it is right now because it may not happen. Obviously, I've got to get the quote, see if it's affordable, see if it's even possible what we want to do with our studio. But should it be possible, I'll be documenting the journey as we build what is going to be our new studio and the new facility within the studio that's going to be a proper game changer. So anyway, fingers crossed, should be good. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome to Friday that isn't actually Friday. So let me bring you guys up to speed. Friday was just, to be honest, it was completely manic and there was no time in the day for me to get this vlog done. However, to round this episode off, I figured whilst I'm on my drive into work, let's do a little bit of a response to a comment. So thank you very much to this person. I'll put the comment on screen now. Do leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've got any topics or questions or anything that you would like me to put my opinion on. I can't remember the exact question, to be honest. I am driving. However, I remember it was something along the lines of, what is it that I feel freelancers are missing compared to agencies or small agencies, stuff like that. And I've had a quick think about this one, and I think that a lot of what is missing, and I'm speaking a little bit from experience here in terms of back in my freelance days, the thing that I think is different, significantly different to when I was on my own, that's kind of organisation, communication and planning. So back in the day when I was freelance, if a job came in, I'd book it in on my Google Calendar, and then the next time we communicate would be the minute I arrive. Then after the shoot, the next time you hear from me would be the first time you receive a draft. And that's all well and good. You're delivering a service, you're filming, you're editing, you're delivering a video. However, the thing I think that has made, that our clients have responded really well to and like about us, is our level of communication that we have now. All it is just those additional emails in between things, or calls. I actually think that calls are pretty fantastic, and a lot of people don't like calls. You know, it can disrupt the day and all this stuff, but it is really good for building relationships. You got to put yourself in the client's mind for a minute and think, what do they want to know to settle their nerves? And I think, personally speaking, again from experience, I think that being transparent about timelines, about when you're going to receive this, that and the other, is a massive nerve settling thing, and it also stops anyone from wondering when something's going to happen and then chasing you up on that. So we share very detailed timelines on every project we do with everyone who's involved, so they know at all points who's working on what, when they're working on it, when they're going to receive it, when it's going to be completed, etc, etc. And I never did that as a freelancer. If there was a deadline that was mentioned, i.e. we want the video by next Friday, yes, we would all be in agreement on that and they would get the video by then. However, they wouldn't know any of the in-betweens, like when they're going to receive the draft, when I need the feedback back by so that I can progress with the next draft. And obviously before the shoot, it would just be, yeah, let's have a shoot, cool, it's next Thursday, cool. But I wouldn't call them or email them in the meantime just to manage expectations and say, going to arrive from this time, it's going to be me and someone else, or just me, and I'm going to have this kit. I propose that we start with the interviews first, then we move on to B-roll because of this, or asking questions but also giving them a lot of information so they know exactly what to expect and they're best prepared. For example, I had a green screen project, and before the shoot, it's probably wise to send them a little bit of a document about what to wear and what not to wear. The obvious thing is don't wear green. You would be surprised. I've been there where someone has rocked up on a shoot wearing green to a green screen shoot, and that is not a fun position to be in. So little things like that, best preparing everybody, talking to the talent or the client or whoever it is, just making sure everyone has a full idea of everything you've got to do, will make you leaps and bounds above the rest in terms of those that aren't doing that. So that's something that I think that smaller agencies perhaps do that freelancers perhaps don't do. Again, I'm only speaking from experience here based on what I did as a freelancer versus what we do now as a small production company. We all know how to create videos, we all know how to shoot, we all know how to edit, but the one thing that can make you a bit different is how good you are with the people that you're working with. And trust me, that will go so far. I've got customers now that I'm working with, that I started working with when I was just very first starting out. In fact, one of the clients we've been working with recently is a enormous nationwide business, and my point of contact there was actually one of my first ever clients. This is 9 years ago. She joined this new company and remembered me from those filming experiences that we had all the way back then, and now we're working with her again in this new business as Menace Media rather than Dennis Dean, the freelance videographer. I thoroughly believe that the reason why she thought of me was because of how I was as a person and how well we gelled and got on at that point in time. And one last point to add to this, I fully appreciate that agencies have the luxury of more time because there's more people who can handle that thing, but we have come along leaps and bounds from where I was as a freelancer back in the day. I hope that very long explanation gave you some value. I thoroughly recommend you give it a go. try and implement some systems that help. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for next episode. And until then, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's episode. My head feels like it's going to explode. I have buggered up big time this evening, and that's so frustrating.